Thank you everyone for dialing in to this webinar. This is, I just posted this on LinkedIn and I did not expect to see, that there would be too much of a response in people, wanting to know about product development in Southeast Asia. But I'm glad to see that there is, right? So through this session, I'm just going to, this is how the session is going to be. There are four parts to this. One, I'll just give you a bit of overview about the Southeast Asian tech economy, just a brief introduction to Grab, and then we'll go through three product stories. Okay, now these are going to be stories that normally talk about challenges of product development in Southeast Asia, but through that you get to know a lot about the market and the people here, and exactly how they lead their life. We'll do Q&A. The thing about Q&A and, the thing about Q&A is you can see there's a hand button. You would see on your webinar link, there's a hand button. If you have a question at any point, just raise your hand and, I'll open your mic, just speak, okay? We'll do a proper Q&A later as well. So a big part of this would be just Q&A. In between, I might launch polls just as we did now, just to keep it interesting. And yeah, let's try to stay till the end and let's see how it goes. So if we are ready, can everyone just tap on that hand at the bottom of your screen? I just want to see if everybody knows how to use that. All right, great. Thank you. All right, let's get started. So let's have a look at this. So we're talking about Southeast Asia. What's Southeast Asia? Southeast Asia, this region, a lot of you are from here in the participant list. Essentially, when I refer to Southeast Asia throughout this conversation, it is going to mainly refer to the internet economy of Southeast Asia, which largely comprises of these 6 countries that you see on your screen. Okay, the region has more countries, it's got more diversity, but for the sake of our discussion, this is where we will be. We've got 600 million population that resides in these countries, about 360 million internet users, and it's a very diverse culture and economy. So on one hand, we have Singapore, which has one of the highest per capita GDP in the world. On the other hand, we have Vietnam, which has one of the lowest per capita GDP in the world. So it's very diverse from that perspective. The region of late has seen a lot of startups booming, a lot of unicorns coming up. Some of them are here. You must have read about them. You might have seen some of them. There's Grab, there's Gojek, Lazada, which is an e-commerce player, Gojek and Grab in ride hailing, Traveloka in online travel, Garena for games. It's already $100 billion internet economy, and a fun aspect that some of you may not know, because we always talk about Asia. We talk about Asian markets, we say China, India, China, India. This region actually is the fastest growing internet economy in Asia, and it also has the most engaged mobile users in the world. 2x more engaged in the US, 1.5 times more engaged than China, and about 1.3 times more engaged than India, right? So something to know about. A little bit about Grab. So this is what Grab does. It's the largest tech startup in Southeast Asia now. Started in 2012. We started ride hailing. We're doing food delivery. We have a payments arm. And then what you see on this side, on the right, that's that's our super app version. We've got hotels, tickets, insurance, a lot of things. I see there are already some questions here, so I'll take one of those. That is, hey, this is QP Quick. I think you had something You had something to say? No, not really. All right. So let's move on. Next, I'm just going to take you through three product stories, right? So now that we have a brief idea about the market, we're just going to talk about three things. What have been the product challenges? And I'm going to take the last 4 years that really bring out an essence of, how the customers here are and how the market is. But before we do that, here's a slide I would like you guys to focus on. So when we talk about Southeast Asia, yes, these are the 6 countries, right, or 7 countries, but really there's really something interesting here. Everybody is fighting for this place, Indonesia, right? It's the fourth most populated country in the world. It's the largest market for almost everything in Southeast Asia. It's a majorly Islamic country. They like really spicy food. The man on the screen is actually the president of Indonesia. I just want to tell you that the capital city, Jakarta, it has 7 times the population of Singapore. If you take the greater Jakarta area, and as you can see, the traffic's bad. All through this talk, this is something that you should keep in mind. Keep this image in mind of Indonesia, of Jakarta, because you're going to be forced to imagine it as we talk about things. All right, let's talk about the first story. That's GrabChat. So I'm going to run another poll. Yeah. I want all of you to just think of your previous, the latest ride hailing that you had, the latest Uber or whatever you use in your city, right? Uber or Grab, whichever service you use. And just tell me about what it was, what is the question like, right? So let's just say, I'll show you the options on the screen. So just take a minute and just tell me what your experience was. All right, I think we've got a few results. Let me share the results with everyone. Okay, so for most of us, apparently, the world is a better place, right? For most of us, your experience is exactly what Travis Kalanick imagined, right? You open the app, you order, you got picked up. And I see most of us in this call are from the US or from Singapore or, fairly more organized parts of the world. A lot of us actually chatted with our drivers, and some of us had to do phone calls, and there was one person with multiple. Now let's go back about 3 years, when the industry in the market wasn't really that great. Most of the times, people were faced with either option B, D, or E, right? Every time you call somebody, every time you booked a ride, you had to make a phone call because, most people do not trust the infrastructure. And that is where I need you to remember the image you saw in the previous slide. So a lot of us might live in cities where we are used to trusting the infrastructure, we are used to trusting information that's given to us. That's not necessarily the case in a place like Indonesia, right? So arrival times are not estimated properly. People have to spend 15 minutes. They're just looking for each other. Where's my driver? Where's my customer? And what that meant was, a player in this market needed a really robust communication tool to avoid time wastage. The problem is, the phone calls in Southeast Asia are a problem. There are three reasons for this. One, we've got a lot of foreigners here. Okay, the region thrives on tourism. There are a lot of cities that are full of immigrants. We've got, like, in our city, Singapore, like almost half the people are foreigners. In Bangkok, about 10% are foreigners. And we've got a lot of tourists. Where we don't have foreigners, we have laws that make it almost impossible for a driver to return your call in real time because he doesn't want to be fined $1,000 for talking on the phone. And a third very important aspect of this, which really applies to the Southeast Asian market, is we've got a lot of motorcycle taxis. Okay, and this especially applies to places like Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand. There is no way that guy, I mean, he's smiling in the photo, but there's no way he's going to be listen to your phone call, take a call when he's riding. It's just not happening. So communication needs to be asynchronous. But that said, Southeast Asia actually loves to chat. We are the chattiest people in the entire world. This market beats markets that are traditionally thought to be mobile first markets like India and China. This market beats them hands down when it comes to using mobile chat. And it beats the entire world hands down when it comes to chat commerce. There's, I mean, I just want you to look at this graph. Just compare Thailand with the US. Chat commerce essentially refers to people chatting with a seller in order to buy something or having a chat before they purchase. This could be whether you're buying secondhand items or an actual e-commerce store. So essentially what I'm trying to tell you here is, you know what, if there's one market in the world that you should market a chat product to, it's this market. Nobody chats more than Southeast Asia. So what do we do about this, right? So if you've got a problem, we need a communication tool, and we have some data here. That is what led to the launch of GrabChat, and this was in 2016.